health is a prerequisite for a good quality life. Every other thing hinges on it. It is the pivot around which other aspects of life operate. Your productivity, decision-making capacity, quality of relationships, coping, resilience, and many other key aspects of your functioning as a human being, and ultimately the quality of your life, are dependent on your mental well-being. Mental health is central to overall health and well-being, and there is a plethora of irrefutable scientific evidences that prove this. The wealth and prosperity of any nation primarily depends on the mental quality of its people. Think about this. Your mood, your thinking, perception, willpower, self-control, motivation, which are all components of your mental functioning, determine everything about you. They determine the choices you make, what you do, how and when you do them, how you relate to people and things around you, how you interpret people and events, how you negotiate challenges and obstacles, and so much more. Beyond rhetorics and pop psychology, high-quality scientific researches prove that positive mental health is linked with lower morbidity, that is, lower disease occurrence, increased longevity, and reduced health symptoms. Also, positive emotional functioning is associated with better endocrine, that is, hormonal function, such as lower levels of stress hormones and better immune response, in addition to higher antibody production and greater resistance to illnesses. Why? This is because the brain, which is the organ of the mind, controls all other organs and systems of the body. The heart, the lungs, the kidneys, intestines, liver, muscles, bones, joints, and indeed the whole body receive instructions from the brain. That is why when, for example, you are afraid, you can experience physical symptoms because that emotion in the mind triggers other systems to action. A compromise in one's mental health negatively affects functioning, productivity, and quality of life. If anything goes wrong in any of the components of our mental processes, it could affect multiple areas of our lives. It is therefore necessary to have a good understanding of one's mental functioning in terms of health and illness. When we do, we will appreciate the need to promote our mental health and promptly take the right steps should problems arise. Given the centrality of mental functioning to our existence as human beings, it is very paradoxical that only a very small fraction of our population understand little about the subject. And weirdly too, a lot of people do not like to talk about their mental health. And the thought of the possibility of a mental illness is avoided like a plague. Spanning years, no facet of human health or illness has been so thickly veiled by misconceptions, myths, fear, discrimination, shame, and stigma like the domain of mental health and illness. Mental is a word grossly misunderstood by many. It is a word whose real denotation and connotation in the eyes of the public are miles apart. To many people, that word mental connotes madness or weirdness, never get well, never able to function, eccentric, dangerous, violent, or shameful, and so much more negative things. However, the word mental simply denotes or means the mind or the psyche, just like cardiac means heart, renal means kidneys, osteo means bones, ophthalmic means eyes, nasal means nose, and so much more. Other synonyms, which are often used interchangeably with the word mental, are psychological or behavioral. Whichever one you choose or prefer, the bottom line is that mental refers to the mind, just like cardiac refers to the heart, and dermal refers to the skin. The mind is in the brain. It is an ensemble of parts of the brain. It refers to the parts of the brain responsible for our cognition, that is thinking, our perceptions, emotions, and regulations of purposive behavior. That is, the residence of mental health and its disorders is our brain, which is a biological organ just like other organs in the body. Therefore, mental illnesses are biological illnesses. Whether you run away from it or not, accept it or not, believe it or not, your mental functioning is what makes you a human being, and the quality of your life derives from it. No one is immune to mental illness. Anyone can experience a mental disorder, even though we may have different degrees of susceptibility, but it still remains a fact that anyone, and indeed anyone, can experience it, irrespective of age, sex, race, ethnicity, social and economic status, religion, culture, and anything that defines different human groups. As against commonly attributed causes of mental illnesses such as spells, spiritual attacks, and retribution, mental illnesses are largely biological illnesses affecting the biological organ, the brain. According to World Health Organization, WHO, 1 in 4 people will experience a mental or neurological disorder in their lifetime. Yet, the number of people that seek treatment is few. The impact of mental illness is grossly underestimated by people because majority do not understand the subject of mental health and illness. Years back, the World Bank, in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the Harvard University, commissioned a massive research called the Global Burden of Disease. This study aimed to quantify how much different illnesses take away from an individual in terms of lost years of healthy life throughout the world. Lost years of healthy life refer to years lost to disability and premature death. Data gathered from the study revealed that mental illness ranks second in the burden, that is, in the impact of illnesses. The severity of disabilities from each disease condition were also compared with each other. The results showed that mental illnesses take a lot from an individual, just like other bodily illnesses. For example, depression is equivalent in disability burden, that is in its impact, to blindness or paraplegia, that is paralysis in both lower limbs. The meaning of this is that the disability or functional limitation and distress experienced by a blind person or someone with paralysis in both legs is the same as someone with depression, even though the person with depression can still see and walk about. The data from this study reiterates the importance of mental health and the need for prompt treatment of any kind of mental illness. A very common reason why many people do not seek prompt treatment for mental disorders is stigma. People fear being stigmatized. To avoid shame, people hide themselves or the family member experiencing a mental challenge. Mental illness is grossly stigmatized and discriminated against. A lot of people misconstrue mental health and illness. They are biased, prejudicial, and have the wrong prepossession about the subject matter. It is seen as a thing of shame. Nearly 2/3 of all people with diagnosable mental disorders do not seek treatment. And those who attempt to seek help go to places they feel are less stigmatizing, like going to emotional therapists, faith healers, alternative practitioners, counselors, and so much more. Tragically, most of these helpers are quacks, largely ignorant themselves and taking advantage of people's ignorance and attempt to avoid stigma. Stigma is rooted in ignorance, and one powerful way of dispelling it is for people to have the right knowledge, because stigma is fueled by many misconceptions and beliefs about mental health and illness. The media also has contributed greatly to the stigma because of their negative and selective portrayal of mental illness. Most African movies depict mental illness as a spiritual affliction and punishment for evil deeds. The majority of portrayals on TV are burlesques, a grotesque misrepresentation and travesties of mental health and illness. These are often over-dramatic and deliberately sensationalized to amuse the viewers. The mentally ill are often depicted in stereotypical ways as a person roaming on the streets nude or in tattered clothing, disheveled, ungroomed, with incoherent speech, chasing people with dangerous contraptions. All this display of untruths about mental illness cause great damage. They make people have a parochial view and insular understanding of mental health and illness. They convey falsehood and portray mental illnesses as untreatable by orthodox methods. With this type of stereotyped picture of mental illness, the natural reaction will be that of shame and secrecy to avoid stigma. No one will therefore like to talk about it or even conceive or accept the possibility of suffering from a mental illness. Someone who has symptoms that may indicate a mental health challenge would rather embrace denial or dismiss it as something else, for example, as a spiritual attack. And this is particularly common in this part of the world because of our high propensity to spiritualize things, especially things we do not understand, or realities we do not want to face, or things that are too painful for us to accept. The consequences of ignorance and stigma are enormous. There is unnecessary suffering. There is inability to attain set goals and maximum potentials because of suboptimal level of mental functioning. Also, productive years are lost due to disabilities resulting from untreated or poorly managed mental challenges. Some people are even exploited by unqualified therapists who capitalize on the stigma and offer them fake alternative treatments for their distresses. Resources are wasted on treatments with questionable, fraudulent, and scientifically unvalidated efficacies. Some patients are sadly subjected to many unthinkable, inhumane, barbaric treatments like physical restrictions, beating, starving, and so many egregious forms of abuse. There are also misperceptions concerning the treatment of mental disorders. Some people falsely believe that the drugs used in the treatment of these challenges are dangerous. In fact, some so-called therapists dissuade people from getting formal psychiatric treatment. They say things like, "Don't take yourself or your children to the psychiatrist. They will medicate and turn you into zombies." This is a preposterous lie, motivated by avarice, to keep these people enslaved to their forms of better treatments. There are very good drugs, well researched into, with proven and documented scientific efficacy. Oftentimes, the side effects of these potent drugs are blown out of proportion. There is, however, no drug without side effect. And I usually tell people that even the very common paracetamol is a drug that is often used for pain and fever. This paracetamol has a list of side effects. The side effect profile of many drugs are rare, and majority of people do not even experience them. Even if and when they occur, they are hardly noticed and very tolerable, and sometimes antidotes exist for such. Contemporary health practice does not endorse or advise alternative practice with no scientifically proven and validated evidence of efficacy and safety. Hypertension and diabetes are common disorders, and someone with either would likely take drugs for a long time, mostly a lifetime. These drugs used for managing these disorders, that is hypertension and diabetes, also have side effects, some even more intense than the side effects of psychiatric drugs. When people experience such side effects, however, they do not blow it out of proportion, and they continue to take their medicines because they know their lives are at stake if they do otherwise. However, when people experience side effects from psychiatric drugs, they are often magnified and justified as excuse for non-compliance because mental illness may not kill as fast as hypertension or diabetes. What they do not realize, however, is that even though non-compliance may not be immediately or directly fatal, it sure disrupts your functioning and your productivity and may progress to more dire complications. The public is further derailed because a lot of myths exist concerning mental health challenges. In this age of the internet, where anybody can post anything online, people read wrong stuff on mental health and its challenges online, written by unqualified persons. There are many anti-psychiatric polemics on the internet who derail people, but science trumps all. Science does not lie and can always be verified. The goals of this platform are to provide accurate, science-based, research-validated, professional, and up-to-date information about mental health and illnesses across all age groups, that is, adults, children, and adolescents, to debunk myths, incorrect beliefs, and stereotypic ideas about mental health and related issues. This platform is also to educate people on how to promote their mental well-being and to educate people on how to nurture a child's mental health to produce resilient and productive adults. It is also to provide adequate information about how to identify promptly the symptoms of mental illness and to provide information on what to do in the event of a mental health challenge in anybody, children, adolescents, and adults. This platform will also give information on the types of interventions, treatments, and help available and where to get them, in addition to who are professionally qualified to offer them. This platform will also provide forums to ask questions and share your stories and encourage others and also learn from other people's journeys. We shall also endeavor to answer all possible questions on your mind concerning mental health and illness. We shall illuminate brightly on mental health and all forms of mental illnesses in children, adolescents, and adults, so that you and your loved one who may have any mental health issues will be promptly and adequately treated. And the person will be able to achieve his or her maximum potentials and will not be exploited by quacks or live a poor quality life, crippled by suboptimal mental functioning. To this end, all information provided on this platform are in smithereens. They are given by qualified and experienced professionals and are deliberately written and discussed in simple terms anyone can comprehend. The scientific literature given here are referenced and has been highly simplified. Contacts of verified professionals across the country, Nigeria, in mental health services will be provided so that people can ask them questions, seek guidance and advice about bothering issues, and someone may even choose to consult them physically. In a country riddled with corruption in all sectors, these professionals' credentials have been verified, having been duly certified and licensed by their appropriate professional bodies. There will be avenue to report any unprofessional and questionable conduct by any of the listed professionals on this platform, because professionalism and integrity are key to us. Also, clinics, hospitals, special schools and centers, both public and private, including NGOs across the states of Nigeria that provide Evidence-based interventions in mental and related issues will be listed. Evidence-based medicine is a gold standard for healthcare all over the world. All information on this website will be provided in all major Nigerian languages in writing, audio, and video formats. We are starting with English, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and Pidgin. Other Nigerian languages will be added soon. We hope that with all the professional information on this platform, mental health and related issues will be stripped of the cloak of shame and stigma, and people will feel comfortable to talk about issues relating to their mental functioning and also take the right steps when needed, and ultimately enjoy their lives and reach the zenith of their potentials. In this age and times, where there are scientifically proven treatments, processes, and interventions that help to promote mental health and treat mental disorders, no one, young or old, poor or rich, should suffer in any way from any mental health challenge. Although there are still many things to unravel about the brain, research is ongoing with more sophisticated techniques in more areas of neuroscience. For example, in the areas of molecular biology, cytology, genetics, and so on. And this continues to shed more light on the workings of the brain in health and illness. If there are some areas of mental related issues you wish for more information on or still appear recondite to you, please do not hesitate to ask us. Happy reading, listening, watching, and understanding. I am Dr. Mrs. Aino Solomon Oyekomi, consultant psychiatrist. Thank you.